Hi everyone, and welcome to the Witch Doctor's Guide to ServiceNow episode number 27. And today we're looking at the new functionalities in Orlando release, which you can upgrade your personal developer instances if you haven't done that. So there's a lot to cover, and today we're going to look at the flow and what I would call the general flow functionalities. I don't know what to call it, but new stuff that you can use pretty much wherever in which flow you are building. So let's continue quickly through the PowerPoint. Who am I? My name is Goran Lundqvist, aka the Witch Doctor. Hopefully you have seen this presentation before in my videos. Other than that, hopefully you will go to my other videos and enjoy them as well. Working at ServiceNow as a senior developer, application developer. Been a customer at ServiceNow, been a partner, or been working for a partner to ServiceNow, and now joined the mothership and working in ServiceNow as well. Love the community, trying to help out as much as times allow me. Also can see that the bullet points are actually out of date. I'm a ServiceNow community MVP for 2020 as well. If you like to reach out and get connected, you have my connections on any side. I don't remember that or that one, but you have LinkedIn, Twitter, subscribe to YouTube channel, of course. You get the new videos directly, and GitHub, of course. If I make code in the videos that are a bigger chunk, I will put them in my GitHub repository, so you can just copy paste them from there. And for for a year ago, I released my book, The Witch Doctor's Guide to ServiceNow. Sadly, or well, time flies, it's what was for Madrid, so the new stuff in New York and Orlando isn't there, but there are a lot of basic stuff that is good to know so you don't do the same mistakes I did. Haven't read it, go to Amazon and see what you think about it. But anyway, enough about that. What we're going to do today. We're going to look at 5 stuff. Change fields, what they are, SLA, trigger. Another field is kind of wrong, another choice on when to run. We're going to look at something called dynamically flows, and then the transform functionality on the data fields. So let's jump in there, and let me just... And sadly I had some issues earlier, or not sadly perhaps, but that makes this, I think, the third video I'm making right now, because I had some intervention by my kids, and then I just clicked the wrong stuff, and yeah, there was a lot of things going wrong. So third time's a charm, so let's hope I don't have to redo this video again. So changed fields, what are they? Let's create a new flow. Change, let's call the episode 27 change field problem. Oops, if I can spell. There we go. Just make sure we can have as little issues as possible. So change fields will pop up when you select record, created, updated, and of course created or updated. So let's take this one. We want to do it on the problem field. And as you can see on the right, we now have changed fields, which is a complex object, an array of objects, and each object has 5 fields. They have the field name, remember it's the field name, not the label of the field, and the previous value of that field and the current value, and of course the previous and current display value. Worth noting is that all of these are string fields, so if you're pointing to a reference field, the value is the sysid, display value is the name, because that's the only way you can pretty much do it right now if you have different types of field. So you will get an array of objects, and each object is one of the fields that actually were changed. And we might test it multiple times, so let's just hit this one. So how do we do it? What we need to do is loop through the fields that were changed. So we do a for each, pull in the change field array. Then let's do a if statement. Let's take a look. And I'm just going to do, I hate these examples, but if short desk has Goran. I don't know. So that means that if the previous value has have, is that how you say it? Has have? You'll notice what I mean. So if the previous value, in short description, contains Goran, then I want to do something. And of course, not only the value, I want to make sure we only look in the short description. So the field name is short description. So if it says Goran in description, I don't want that to happen. So if that, let's create a task. Problem. And I'll just link them together. So the problem field should be that one. Yeah, that's enough. Now you can of course go out, change a problem record, see any triggers and all that, but with the change fields there's a new cool functionality on the test. Let me hit save just to be certain that it's working. I'll hit test. I'll just select which record. I'll do that one. And now we have changed fields. So here I can actually build that array myself and say short description. Previous value was, let's trigger this time. So triggers, well, this is a test from Goran. Not much. And if you don't need to fill out all the fields. They will just have null as a value. If I want to have multiple fields, I just hit plus and then scroll down. And let's say that the description field was changed. And I'll just do like this now. There we go. And then I'll hit run. So now it's running the flow and those two fields were triggered. And how did that work? So let's take a look. For each. Here you can see, this is a test. You can see these are the two stuff I actually put in. You can see the problem. And now I'm actually, I think, running into the same bug as earlier. Yeah, I do. Wonder why. So as you can see, you don't have a runtime value, so it doesn't really fetch the values I have, which is kind of weird. And I guess this is with early access and trying to evaluate. I wonder why that happened. Because the funny part was I actually tested it just before the video and then it worked. So why doesn't it work now? Let's try it again. And if it doesn't work now, I'm actually going to move ahead because this is how it's supposed to work. And if it's a bug, it will of course get fixed. So let's just, I'll just take something, this problem here. So you can see there isn't any problem task on this one, and the problem, the short description doesn't have Goran in it. So right now when I hit save, we should see it being triggered. Let's go to flow, today's executions. You can see that I have multiple. Ooh. I actually thought that I had deleted my old one. But that's good perhaps because the old one actually worked. So let's see. So this you can see, here is the current value. Of course it elevates to false. Let's go back to my problem because now we have a problem with Goran. And let's see what happens. Now I have two flows. One I know worked earlier. Let's see. Goran, let's go back to the created today. And it must be these two. This is the one I just created. So let's take a look at that one. You can see the runtime values in this one is still empty. Weird. Let's go and take a look at the other one. This one. That one didn't work either. Huh. Why is the runtime values false? I'm just trying to figure out why it actually behaves like this. It's published, it's in the global scope. So the stuff I did before, let's see. So the field name is short description. Let's just do that. We change something in short description. Save. Activate. So now it doesn't even care what the previous value were. Let's see if this works. Now you get some troubleshooting as well. That's nice. So we hit the problem. I'll just fill in some things. We get that to change. I'll just change the description field as well, so you can just see that we have multiple fields that changed. Hit saved. Let's scroll down for the fun. Let's see if we get. Look, not working. I guess I need to have to ask around for this one to understand why it behaves like this. Anyway, let's take a look at the flow. So we know that it was probably this one. Let's take executions. This is the one we did. And here you can see now suddenly we have what I was looking for, the runtime values. That's why it didn't work earlier. And here you can see that of course we could use the previous values. You can see they're filled in. I'm not going to stick around for this anymore, but it will be really nice to have. And this kind of gets my questions when I start doing all the other flow stuff as well, to see if we run into more issues than this. Let me just take a look at my sheet page to see if I missed something about the change fields. No. Next up is the flow, or the SLA flow. And what we want to do is pretty much, if you have been working with SLAs, you can know that you build them through workflows earlier. Now you will actually have a flow field as well. If you're running on a new instance, new Orlando, you will see both fields, but you can only use one of them. But if you have done like I have done here, and hold on, if you upgrade to Orlando, you will see both. If it's a new Orlando, you will only see a flow field on the form. Workflow is still there in the back end, but it looks like this now. So SLA, let's take a look at the out of the box one. What's the big different stuff? Well, and of course you can do all the cool stuff that you can do in flow as well. The biggest thing I think would actually be that when you look at the timers in the old workflow, you will have you wanted to have a trigger at 50% of the time and at 75% of the time, and that got kind of confused because you set the first timer to 50, then next timer you needed to set to 25 because together they became 75. Here you actually put them at the values they should be from the start. So that's the big thing. If you look at it, you can see this is how it looks. The action is named SLA percentage timer. You just put 50%, and then if it's completed, that means that this one is completed. It has reached that time. We want to do this. Then we wait till it hits 25, and that's completed. We want to do that, and then we wait for it to be breached, then we can do these things. And how does it look if you do it? So what I have done, and I think I changed it, yeah, I changed the set start to the open, so I should be able to show you how it looks like. So let's go to incident. Let's create a new incident. And I would like to show you how it looks like. We should have skipped the 50%, but we would like to try to trigger the 70 file while we're actually doing this. So I'll put your employee, I'll make it a priority 1, and I go back in time. So if I do like that, which, you know, I just hit test or something, hit save so we don't miss it. Now if I scroll down, you can see we have perfect 60 minutes. So, and it's running. Let's see, show flow. So you can see that this one is complete. This one is skipped because when it was triggered, that time has already went by. So that one is skipped. And now you can see we're waiting here. And you can also see this is when it's expected to actually run out. So in about a minute, this one should trigger and be completed. And you can see it's now waiting. And let's, I guess, have to wait a little bit more. What's more to say about this one? Not much. Let's just wait. I'll come back to that in a few minutes. We can take a look at a small thing meanwhile, and if we go back to flow, let's take a look at my flow. If you remember, I said we have a new value on the run trigger, and it's for every update. It hasn't been there before. So we have basically now 4 different triggers. We have once, meaning that run one time for this record, then never more. Then we have for each unique change. That one is kind of tricky, because that means that if you have an instance, for example, that goes from in progress to on hold, it will trigger. But if it goes back from on hold to in progress, it won't trigger because it has already been once in progress. So that means that you have to know what you're doing if you choose this and understand it. I have also some thoughts about this, and I haven't looked it up, but I wonder if this one will work so good if you don't have audit on the table, because then you don't have the history to know what values have been or not. Then of course we have only if not currently running. That pretty much means every time unless there is an active flow already. This flow, active context of this flow running against the record. For example, SLAs. You don't want a new one triggered every time. You might have something waiting for a rest call or something. You don't want to re-trigger it until that's done. But if you want exact every time the condition on trigger meets, I want it to trigger. Doesn't care if there's already one flow running actively or not. Then it's every update you should choose. So this is the new one. And there's really good explanation on the docs as well for these run triggers. So if you don't really get what I'm talking about, go to the docs and find out. So let's go back to the incident and see what that one looks like. Where is my incident? I guess perhaps not the incident wouldn't make so much sense. 12 minutes. So we're past, and if I go to the flow, you can see now it says waiting. I'll refresh, completed, and now you can see it has actually created an event for that, and now it's down waiting it will be breached. And if you look at the timer, you can see that it says completed as well, which is kind of nice. So that was the SLA flow that you can, or the SLA that you can use flows for the SLAs nowadays. We looked at the run trigger. Now we have two other things. Just trying to figure out which one we'll do first. Let's do transform functions. That is a really nice functionality. Earlier, you might have done a lot of custom action just to do small things, to change stuff on the different values that you get back from the data pills. Now we have something called transform function. So let's reuse this one, for example. Let's say that on the task I created, I would like to add some cool stuff on that short description. We have, for example, just to show you the date field. Let's see if the created field. Now we all know the format of that one. Let's say we want to tweak that one. And that is where this icon comes. That's the transform function. I can click on that one. Just scroll up and down, and I have the suggested functions. They look at what type the data pill is and give you some suggestions. And of course you can drill down to the other different, and you can see there is a lot. So I won't go through all of them. But for example, I can select date string. And I will say that this date field, I would like it to be like, I'm trying to point at the screen, that didn't go well. Monday, month, day, like this, instead of having something like this. Then I just need to click on that or enter a custom form and apply. Now let's trigger this one just to make sure that it happens. And just to avoid any issues with the runtime, I'm just going to do like this. I'm going to put that on the top. Create a task, to that, done. Hit save. And for that, then we can just test it, and I can just find a problem. I hope this is an open problem, because otherwise I don't think I can create tasks. Yeah, I could do that. So let's look at the task. You can see the short description put in Tuesday, September 9, 2017, which is really nice. And to make it even more advanced, I just need to, I'll do like that. I need to go to the problem to make sure what the problem has as a short description. Here you can see the short description is, there are 6 different words in the short description. So let's say that I only want to have the first word in that description, or the second. Let's go for the second word. So let's go to the create task again. Now we can see that the applied transforms is this one. We can remove that. So let me just scroll so you can see. Let's go to string. So we want to have the second word, so that means that we will make the string and split it by white space and into an array, and then pull the second element. So let's just hit split. Separator is a white space, just hit space. Then the next time we want to do, we would like to go and find here, get item from array. So now that's the next step. So that means that we would like to have, since index starts on 0, we will have number 1. Apply. Now you can see that I first do a split, then I do a get item from that array. There we go. Hit save. And if we look at this one, just to make sure, we used 02, and the second word is floor. So that's the word we should find on the short description of the new task. So let's hit test. Number 2. And here we go. I'll look at the task. And I realized I forgot something. Oh, here you can see. This was the issue. I tried to split a date field, which didn't work. So that's when you get too fast. So let's remove that. It was, of course, the problems. Short description we wanted. Where is it? Oh, it was not called short description, it was called problem statement. When we do it all again, we would like to split by weight base, apply, and then we want to have get item from that one, and we want number 1, apply, hit save, and now hopefully we'll get a better one. We'll do a test, 02, run test, look at the flow, look at the task, and now we can see, yes, we have the second word, floor, which is really nice. And when you look at the runtime, you can see that as well. Good to know is that when you do multiple transformation functions, you will only see the last value. You can't see the whole flow. You can't see the whole array, for example. I can only see that the result was floor. Right now we can't create our own custom transform functions. Right now, if you would like to do that, the only way to do that is basically to hit the inline scripting instead. But I'll bet it will show up in a release or two. So that was it about transform flows or transform functions. Last thing up is what's called dynamic flows. And what are they? And luckily I actually got them done, so it won't take too long. Let's just skip all these. So dynamic flows, what are they used for? They're pretty much used for when you build your flow. Perhaps you don't really know which subflow you're going to choose or need. That might be something that will be evaluated and decided when your flow is actually running. It makes it a lot easier to administrate your flows, because in this way you don't need to actually edit your parent flow to add another subflow. You can have it dynamically instead. I'm just going to try to read out and of course another thing is that the dynamic flows will actually run in its own context and not as subflows that are actually baked into the parent flows context when it's actually building or plan. So how does it look? What do we do? Do we dare to actually create it on your own? Let's take a look first. So, and this is the weird one. So let's do it from scratch instead, just to give you a sense how it works. So dynamic flows or subflows, that's the two things we're going to talk about. So in my case, I am going to make a record. Let's just create a new table. Let's go into episode 27. Studio. Oh, come on. And like all my other use cases, this one will be weird. But we have the table tickets. I just created a table called tickets. And in tickets, I have ticket type. Now, in this case, depending on the ticket type is either, for example, incident or problem, I would like to have different subflows running. So that means that I'm basically first, let's screw that and let's go up here to flow, episode dynamic flows. I'll just do like this. So when a ticket is created, that one, so when that was being created, depending on what's in that ticket type field, I would like to do different things. And to do that, I need to do first something called a template. So what I do is I create a new subflow. I'll call it template episode 24 ticket. You can actually call it whatever you want. This template is only being used to define what inputs and outputs your other dynamic flows will have. I'll just add everything. So I'll just have one thing, and that will be, in my case, I just call it type. It'll just be a string, and the output will actually just be a number, an incident or problem number perhaps. That will also just be a string. This is basically the only thing I need to do in this template. So I'll hit save. One thing, I just need to check this. Just 2 seconds. Yeah. I actually need to do this. I wonder, I don't know if this is a bug or something, but or that's something they will have fixed until next time. But I need to put something in the actions to be able to publish it. And I need to be able to have it published for it to show up here. So I'll select my template, and now you can see that the type showed up here. Now I need to decide which flow am I going to run. You can of course hard code either, I think it's the sysID or the name of the flow. So I could actually just fill in the flow, I don't know, Goran Superflow, or I can have the dynamic version where I don't really know which am I going to do. So I'll just call it EP27 dash, and here I actually would like to have the tickets type, the value that's in that. So I'm trying to call either a flow, for example, called EP27 dash incident or EP27 dash problem, and so on. And by doing this means that if I in the future would like to add another dynamic flow, I don't need to edit this flow as a new subflow. I can just do it and it will find it by the name. I also have a wait for completion, meaning that it won't go further down until it actually has completed. And of course the input was the type, so I need to put that one in here as well, because that was an input to my subflows. Now what I can do, of course, I can just go up here, copy subflow, and I just change the name to EP27 incident. Copy. So in this case, if the value in the incident type is incident, I want this subflow to run, and then I'll just do a lookup. Wait. And I know that we're looking for incident, so I'll just go to incident table, get me the first active incident, and then since it's a subflow, I want to assign that number for that record to that output. So I'll just do like this, and that number should be the lookup records number. There we go. I'll hit save and I'll hit publish. And then to make it easier for myself, I'll just do copy again, and I'll just do problem with a big P, remember that, copy. And then of course, instead of looking up incidents, I want to look up problems. Look up problems where active is true, looks good. The subflow output, number, problem record looks right as well. Hit save, and we'll hit publish. So now I've made two subflows, EP2000-incident and dash problem. The dynamic flow says find a flow. Did I have a space? Yeah, I have a space. Yeah. Looks good. Now we would like to do something with the output we get. Then we actually need to use another one, the get flow outputs. And for that one, I'll just go to the context and I'll just drag that one over there. And we all know that the template we're using was that one. Now we have the number, and we can reuse that further down in our flow. And I can just go and I'll just do a log. The number is the number of the beast. There we go. I'll hit save. I'll hit activate. And now it should be fun to see if this actually works. So let's go to list view, hit a new ticket. I'll type in incident. Wonder if it's case sensitive. Don't dare to. Yes, I hit save. And I'll go to the flow designer. We have execution. Been queued, in progress, waiting. Wonder what it's waiting for. And come on. Complete. Okay, let's see what happens. It was created. You can see that we have a dynamic here. You can see that the flow it should start was that, and it put in that one. You can find that it output. There was it. You can see that the number that we get back was number 15, and the log was correct as well. To make certain I'm not fooling around, because this went too easy almost. Let's hit problem. I'll hit submit. Now instead we would have a problem being created. Executions. Waiting. There we go, completed. You can see that it launched the problem, and in log we got the problem number instead. So this is a really cool functionality, because this means I can publish this one, and then when I want to add change, I just create a new change subflow with the correct naming from the correct template, and that will work directly as well. So dynamic flows is a really cool feature that I really like. So I think that was it for today. We have gone through. Let's go back and take a look at my sheet page. We take a look at the change fields, the previous values and all that stuff, the SLA flows, the run as that you could now select every update, We have the transform functionality where you on the data pills can click and like convert a string to an array and with split, and there was so much more that you can do. So look into that when you're doing stuff, especially when thinking I need to create a custom action for this. Take a look at transform field first. And then we have dynamic flows that actually work directly without a charm. And I'll come back and take a look why my change fields runtime values weren't framed with me today. But thank you all for watching and have a great Sunday if you're watching this almost live. Otherwise, have a great week.